All right, so here we go. We're getting ready to start UK 7. Game's getting interesting at this point, so just a real quick recap. I know my 6 was kind of a late 6, but in the last turn, Japan ended up buying 3 fighters, so they've now got 6 fighters, 1 bomber on the board. US did buy 2 destroyers to start helping out here with the intention that US 7, US 8, they could come over for a UK 9, or UK 8 fleet drop. And of course went ahead and built a factory for Borneo. Germany, as you can see, they started building tanks. So what does that mean? That means they don't expect infantry that were built G7 to make it to the final battle. G7 would have gone G8, G9, G10, G11. So they're not planning on making it to a G11. Presumably they plan on these 13 guys making it, so they can go G8, G9, G10, G8, G9, G10. So it looks like G10 is the target right now, at least. So that's where we got to look at defending. Again, they made this arch move, which is going to make us have to abandon West Russia because we do have to protect Moscow. And moving in here. So the big debate came on, should we strike this or not? So in thinking that, we got to take into consideration that this bomber can make it up there, this tank can go 1, 2, and this fighter can go 1, 2, 3, 4 over there. So they have 3 Japan units that can reinforce arch. So the thought is, what if we did a airstrike? We've got 4, 5, 6 planes that could hit those 3, and if we wiped out those 2 guys, then only thing they can move is that plane over, and the calculator gives us a profitable battle, a 69% to conquer, 71% survival with a 16% attacker profit. The bigger question here, though, is in this is the whole what does this mean on the big board? So these units, the most important thing these units are going to be doing is attacking Moscow eventually. The most important thing these units are going to be doing is defending Moscow at some point. So that's the big battle. That's the most important battle. So we need to watch our defensive power and defensive strength as compared to their attack power and attack strength. I'm not going to go into what I mean by attack strength. This defense strength, basically, it's defense power plus 2 times the number of units and attack power plus 2 times the number of attacking units. But earlier I did the quick math. Hopefully I didn't do it wrong. But these units' attack strength, or attack power, their attack power is 82. Their defense power is 83, as can be seen here. These guys, their attack power is 66, but their defense power is 100. Yeah, is 100. So they're much more stronger in defense. These units are about equal in attack or or defense. So then we look at the casualties that would happen from this. We already established that we're assuming we're going to wipe this out, so they're going to lose 82 attack power in that particular case. So they would have degraded 82 attack power points. Our expected loss, here we go, is these guys. So we would have lost 76 defense power. So really 82 attack power loss to 76 defense power. It is slightly to our advantage, but it's only 2 units difference there. And if you actually broke it down into attack strength and defense strength, it really is completely even because we're losing 38 units. They are losing, AA doesn't count, 34 units. So that unit count makes the other little bit of difference of that attack power. So it's an even Steven battle, even though it shows attacker profit is, we would gain 16 IPC value out of the battle. This is one of these, most often that value is very important, but this is one of those cases where the stats and the timing mean more to me than the IPC value. Because if we just had a big old wash here between these two, and so we had, I forget whatever the units were that was going to live, it was like 2 artillery, 4 tanks, and the 2 fighters would live. So we would have, 8 units plus our build of 7. So we'd have 15 Russian units sitting here. Well, he's got 19 that'll be moving into West Russia, and 6 tanks that are going to be lined up behind it. So he'll have 25 units targeting Moscow plus the 5 fighters, so 30, plus the bombers, 32, plus he could build 2 tanks here, would make it 34, and probably 2 bombers here, so he'd have 36 units staring down at Moscow, and we'd have 15 in there. So our units are more valuable defensively than they are in attacking. So I don't think the value's there, because we're going to lose some fighters attacking Japan, but Japan's not going to be attacking Moscow, but these fighters are critical for defending Moscow from the Germans. So this is why I kind of explained my plan to my teammates. I don't really want to get down into that even though it does say positive IPC value, I think it's overall a negative value for us. And right now, overall in the game, I am slightly feeling better about our position than Axis position. And the reason I say that is normally my rule is I want to permanently take the first money island 4 rounds before Moscow falls. And if you recall, we took Borneo on US 5. Now, they've done a good job with using these fighters. They've slowed our expansion, because normally I'm grabbing 1 island every turn afterwards. So I'm going to say effectively it was really US 6, just to be pessimistic. So that means I need Moscow to live to Germany 10 and still be feeling pretty good about our position for the late game. So that's where we're at, and they're targeting Germany 10, and we're going to try to defend Germany 10. So Germany 10 is going to be a big turn. So keep an eye on that. We're calling that now on round 7, that Germany 10 is going to be a big turn. So what do I think our chances on Germany 10 are? Well, I went and calculated. First off, their main stacks appear on G7, so they could go here, G8, Caucasus G9, Caucasus G9, but they're not going to get a build to go in there. So really, they're probably going to stack West Russia when they go to attack Moscow, so that they can move, these 8 units can get into the battle as well as any builds that go in here. So G8, they can build artillery that can come here. G9, they're going to want to build tanks that can blitz in on G10, and then they're also going to build tanks, after the 2 artillery, they'll build tanks back here, because again, G8, they can go G9, G10, and then on G9, after they build their 2 tanks here, they're going to build bombers to make the max attacks force that could hit Moscow. So that's how I calculated what they could attack us with on G10. Meanwhile, for us on the Allies, the best thing is for Russia just to turtle, and not even trade with Germany. So I just thought, what if they turtled, and what would their IPCV and how many units could they build on Russia 8, Russia 9, Russia 10? And I was even a little bit pessimistic on that I think I'm 1 or 2 units shy, infantry shy of what we probably could get out of it. And then I also want to think about the next step is getting U.S. fighters and U.K. fighters to Moscow. One other little thing. I moved this infantry artillery this way, so they can come up here, tank can come up here. So I'm going to plan to mini stack Kaza from Germany, and then they can get into that defense. So these 3 units are also going to get into the defense of Moscow. I might move these 2 this way, although we're getting a little thin on the front with the Japan over here if we're not careful, because of what I'm going to do. So I haven't really decided what I'm going to do with those 2 infantry quite yet. But my instinct is UK 7, UK 8, UK 9. They're helping defend Moscow on G10 and giving us that little extra boost. I did not count those 2 infantry in what I'm about to show you. What I did count is that between UK 7 and UK 8, I'm going to build 3 fighters. And on UK 8, they could fly into Moscow. On UK 9, if they're on a carrier over here, hint, hint. Or they'd have to be down here and fly in. Either way, 3 fighters can fly from UK 8 into there on UK 9. Plus, of course, everything that I have on the board right now. So we've got 6. I said 3 I'm going to build, so we're going to call it 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 UK fighters that we can get in there, because these guys can fly into here, and then on 7, and then 8 get in. So we're up to 12. Did I say 12? I lost count now. Let me go back again. So 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There we go. 13. And then it's really easy for these 4 fighters to make it in to 17. And then these 2 fighters could fly over to 61 on US 7, and then US 8 go over, or they can come over US 7, US 8, US 9 get in there. So these 2 could get into the battle, but we're also going to be dealing with the Japan fighters in here, so I'm not going to count those 2 fighters. Theoretically, if we really wanted to max things out, US 7, we could build fighters here. They could fly to here on US 8, land on carriers here, and on US 9, they're in Moscow for the G10 defense. Similarly, US 7, we could build fighters here. US 8, they're here. US 9, they're in Moscow. So we had the potential to add these 2 fighters and builds in US 7, any fighters that we build on US 7 that could make it to Moscow for that defense as well. But I did not count them. Instead, I counted 2, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on the build, 13, 17. So I counted 17 fighters amongst everything else that we can stick in there. And so with 17 fighters, this is what the G10 Moscow attack looks like. It's looking like a 50-50. They got a whole wallop of tanks and bombers added in there and some artilleries. We're going to have 17 fighters, like we said. And so it's going to be negative value. It's going to be 50-50. For them to win it, they're going to have to trash their entire air force of 5 bombers and 5 fighters. So that'll mean we'll be going to town on the UK, on the West Europe side. And they're only going to have one, a tank survive. So that means we don't need a whole lot of units down in India and South Asia yet. So that's good. Of course, we will lose all those fighters, though, in the battle. But this is something I will gladly take as allies defending Moscow. Generally, as Axis, I like to see this be about 70%, because normally around 70%, that means I'm not ditching my Air Force to do it. And like we said, we have the potential to make this even a little bit higher. So even if we get one more fighter in there, that makes it start creeping down and down. And so now we're down into the 39% and 43s. Now, there's a lot that can happen with these infantries and artilleries with trading and whatnot between now and G10. So this is by far not a cement, but I feel comfortable with it. So that's why overall in the game right now, I slightly like our position better than where Axis is. Japan, though, they do have enough fighters to make getting the Philippines is going to be hard. They can't really stop us from getting DEI this turn, because they can only get 2 fighters down there, and we've got 2, 4, 6 infantry and potentially 4 fighters that could hit their US 7, and those fighters can still get back to Moscow in time. So they can't stop us from DEI. And was it Malaysia down here? Is that right? Malaya, excuse me. But they can't make... This is going to be a pain to crack. And they did get that factory built, so they're going to be cranking out some infantry on the mainland. So Japan's going to be a little bit more annoying than we'd like. Japan's played pretty well here. So that's going to be a bit of annoyance for us. So all of that's just to give a big strategy how we right now in round 7 have to plan for round 10 and the late game and setting up the late game. So I know that was a lot of information, but in any case, we want to build 3 fighters between UK 7, UK 8. I'm going to wait and build those on UK 8, I believe. I'm going to go ahead and drop a fleet now. And the reason being, the only way I can get these fighters over comfortably without a carrier is to land them on Iceland. And he actually has 2 bombers and 4 fighters that can hit Iceland. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Him losing fighters is attack power of 3 each. Me losing fighters that are sitting there naked is attack or defense power of 4 each. So I need to have that be a positive bit. So he's attacking with 6. I really need 6 fighters there to make that happen. And if I do that, I can't really do the Kaza stack, Moscow stack, and I'd really kind of like to stack down here as well and just plug up the Germans. So I'm going to go ahead and drop a fleet now. And I do want to make sure I make my defense profile to be fighters before carriers, because I don't want him to just wipe out to do a 1-round strafe and take out all that IPC value I put into it. And the values I get out of it's still good. So here we go. This is what we're going to do. We are going to build. I know this is a long one. I apologize. It's harder in these games because it's going to cover a whole round's worth of stuff. But we're going to do 2 carriers and a destroyer. We're going to put them all in C-Zone 7. We're going to fly a couple fighters back. And then that way he'll have still those 7 units that can attack. My 6 units. But he's going to have to put his air at a little bit of a risk there. I think that's where I'm going. I'm going to rethink this for a second. Yeah, I'm going to stick with my plan. He does have advantage, but he's going to risk his fighters as well. And I don't know if he wants to do that. We'll see. We'll see how tough his skin is. And this yeah, it is that point where Germany's going to need to take some risky battles. So that's a potential risky battle he can take. So we're going to allow it. We're going to go with it. That's the plan. I'm still talking myself into it, though. I do like it. Better than landing fighters on Iceland. And I don't want to have them just sit here because I really do, like I could have them sit here 7, 8, build the fleet, 9, fly them in. But I'm worried that he could put some pretty good pressure on here on G8, actually. So I really want to be able to get my fighters in range of getting into there on UK8. Excuse me. You can put a lot of pressure on here for G9. So I want to make sure I can get my fighters in there for UK8. And if I get them all stranded back here, I don't really like that idea. So I think that's what we're going to do. All right. Yep, that's what we're going to do. I want to make sure we kill this one to help me be able to stack here. Again, I know he's going to, at most, he's going to want to attack with is these 3. Technically, he could attack the fighter here too, but the most he's going to do is attack 3 or these 2 in the fighter and send the tank, because he's going to want to send either the tank or the fighter at least this way, and he's going to be timid. So I feel like if I put 4 units into Kaza, I'm feeling pretty comfortable about that. This guy can't do anything useful, I don't think. Three. See, he's safe there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. He's safe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, so we'll be able to move the transport into 46 next turn. Or this turn, excuse me. Non-combat move. All right. Unfortunately, I think that's all my attacks I got, right? Jeez. It's very lonesome when you only do one attack. Not very exciting, right? 5-6, we can land there. 4, we can land them over there. Alright, yeah, no, I think that's all our attacks. Three, 5, 7. 7 risky. Okay. Thank you. Give me a 5. Give me a 5. Give me a 5 back. Give me a 5. Right. Really was hoping to take that. Where do we want to move everybody? Alright, I think we're just going to leave them coming in here. This gentleman... I'm going to come back to him. He's going to go into here. Since we're abandoning, we can go ahead and just bring him on up in here too, I think. Because he just has to be able to reach Moscow. One fighter we're going to put here. One fighter here. One fighter here. 2 fighters out there with 2 fighters out with him. And that leaves these 2 guys. So we can go 7. Russia's going to come down. But we don't necessarily want to go in with Russia. Because then Germany's going to come into here on G8. So we don't want to move UK8 into here. Because Russia's going to pull out, and then Germany's going to be able to smush them. So we'd be coming this way with our little mini stack we got going. Part of the reason I wanted to bring the tank this way, by the way, is now he can blitz through, and we're going to have these 4 fighters can go 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll have a fighter here, bomber here. So we're going to have 6 fighters and a bomber and a tank that can hit here. So if he uses his, whatever he uses, fighter or tank to help support Arch, when he pulls Germany out, he's going to want to cover it up with a little extra, or else I'll hit it with a tank and a whole bunch of air. La-di-da, la-di-da. Where do we want to go? Man, I'm just going to come this way. Just in case he gets lucky striking here, and we can work this way as well. Alright. I think that's what we're going to do. So if he went with that attack, Just gonna double check myself. If he went infantry, tank, fighter, bomber versus infantry, artillery, tank, fighter, it's even Steven on the attack, defense power, and units, but it's going to cost him a little bit more on the IPC value, so I don't think he'll take it. So I think we're good there. Good, 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 good. All right. We're locking it in. Like I said, he could attack this. There's no transports in there for him to attack, and then we're going to be bringing these guys up next turn, and he'd lose a lot of his air force, so we can just restack it next turn if we need to. But we'll see what he does. We'll see what he decides. Yeah, bomber can still hit there. Good. Didn't like not building units in India this turn, but it is what it is. All right, there we go.